we're back after many weeks of saying that we'll try to continue this every Friday. That has been a tremendous failure, and we apologize.
Yeah, kids on summer break. We have not a whole lot of time. Extra, I guess not that we really did before, but at least we had the school line before.
Yeah.
We didn't even have that.
Not that at all.
But we wanted to come at you this week, at least once this summer, and talk about a topic that we've been meaning to discuss for a while, which is how do we deal with the kids' biological families. First of all, I would just like to say that if any biological parents of children in foster care are watching, we are rooting for you to get it together, to do whatever the state is asking you to do, and to take your child back. We like to communicate with the biological families, like so-and-so has done this all week. We'll send pictures just so that you know what your kid is doing, because it must be terrifying to have your kid taken away from you.
One thing that we, I think, always try to do is, when kids come into our home and they are telling us specific things like, oh, I miss my mommy or my daddy or my uncle or my grandparents or whoever I was with. One of the things that C does a really good job at is asking, what did they do specifically that you love so much, and maybe we could try to do it for you too, just so you can remember them. Not because we're trying to take their place in any way, but we definitely want to help keep their memory alive for them.
Yeah, I think it may come off as competing with biological parents, because we've had kids go to visits and talk about, how much fun they've had at Mommy C and My V's house and blah, blah, blah. We're not trying to overshadow anything that biological parents are doing, but it is a challenge for us to make a kid comfortable in our house when we are complete strangers to them, and our way of life might not be the same as theirs. So we do go the extra mile, especially when they first get here, to try to make them comfortable, make their favorite meals, maybe take them to the park more than we normally would, and then we settle into a routine. So I think a lot of the times biological families, especially on visits or first visits, are like, what are these people doing to my kids? They're just spoiling them. And but we're not trying to overshadow your parenting at all. We're just trying to make your kid comfortable, make it as least traumatic for them as possible.
And I think something else that maybe biological families don't realize when kids go into care is that we also have rules and standards that we have to abide, and that's things like making sure the child is involved in some type of activity.
I think one thing that we do really well is try to get pictures of the family put up in the kids' room. There's only visits according to CPS. I mean, they don't get everyday visits, they don't get everyday phone calls, they get once a week visits, and sometimes mom and dad don't show up for that. So we get pictures of the family, or we'll try to send a disposable camera to their first visit, and they can take pictures of mom, dad, brother, sister, and then we'll stick them up on their wall.
It's very beneficial for them to have their family up, because then it makes them feel like we're not trying to take that away from them.
On the other hand, sometimes it is very hard to say nice things about biological families when, it's like, oh, my mom didn't have groceries in the refrigerator when I was there. It's like, oh, well, I'm sure she was working very hard to get you food. Or like, oh, was it drugs that my mom and dad were smoking out of those clear pipes? I sure don't know. It's not our place to judge the parents, but sometimes it's difficult to say anything nice.
We always do.
We pull it out of somewhere, but I had a little girl one time say that she was like, my mom's the best mom in the world. I was like, she sure is, honey. She's like, my mommy would never let me be adopted. That girl's now adopted by some other person, by the way. That was one of the A kids.
Oh,
the A little girl. I'm like, oh, okay, honey. Well, I'm sure she'll do everything she can to get you back,
C and I are very respectful to other people in general, and I think we try to be very respectful for biological families, and, but some of them make it hard. We have a child who is adopted. We're for your family, and we're for you having a relationship with this family if that's what you want and if it's healthy. We've more than once told our child, if you want a relationship with this parent, we will support it 100%. Unfortunately, that has not been what's shown to us by this parent. So, I mean, you have things like that too. And still, even through all that, we're like, well, if this parent can get it together, you know, we're all for it. We still want you to know that.
Yeah, so we've seen kind of good and bad of biological parents. Healthy relationships can be great for the kids to help them healing, while volatile relationships can, you know, hinder the healing. Every parent, every family is different, and in every family there's multiple family members, so you might find one that would be good for your child to communicate with and even visit with, and you might not. So there's no real handbook for this. Just be open. I would say be open to the idea of having a relationship with a biological family. A lot of people want to adopt a kid and just form them in their own way and just kind of brush off that biological component, but it is there whether you want it to be or not. So explore it and learn from it and see if it can't help your child. And, you know,
Absolutely.
don't be so arrogant to think that you can just forget about that part of their life.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be there in their psyche no matter what.
And, you know, aside from always being there in their psyche, it's always going to come up for medical visits. Always. Yeah. Always, 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 always. You know, we just had a visit, the other day with all of our children. We have 4 right now. And with each one, you know, doctor came in and was like, okay, who's the parents? And we're like, well, we both are. That's us. Well, which one of you's mom? Both of us. Okay, which one of you's biological mom? I guess me. Sometimes her. I don't know. Like, and she's like, oh, well, it's just important. We have to put that in there. And while it can be frustrating for us, there is a part of me that they do have to know that stuff. I mean, you go down on a checklist like, hey, has anyone in your family ever had heart disease? Do they have diabetes? Blah, blah, blah. Things like that. And, you know, for the ones I don't know, I just have to put a big X over it and put, I don't know, they're adopted. Please don't ask me about this in front of them because it makes them feel bad. Or whatever the case may be. Like, it's always there. I wish that our kids had better situations so that could happen.
I think as they grow older, they, you know, might be able to find a healthy avenue, someone in the family to communicate with. You know, we'll see. Yeah. The doctor visit was irritating. They kept also asking, like, how many siblings do they have? We're like, what do you count as, like, they have had 20 foster siblings, or they have 4 biological siblings, 2 of which are just half siblings, or these 3 in the immediate room, they live in the house with them, but they're not biologically related. Like, that's a weird question for us. How many kids do you have? That's a weird question for us. Are they siblings? Yes, to us they are, but, you know, biologically, DNA-wise, they're not. And obviously for us, DNA, biology does not make a family. Love makes a family. So for our household, it's not a big deal, but it is awkward to answer those questions specifically in front of your children.
Yeah. So if you are a doctor or anyone who is in the medical field at all, and you, like, seriously look at your paperwork before you walk in that room, because at least for me, I try to write notes on there for you so that it doesn't have to be awkward. I mean, I don't mind the questions, but I don't want my kids to get their feelings hurt because you're saying something that might come out wrong and they don't understand. So, you know, as far as keeping in touch with biological families, like she said before, sometimes it might not just be the parents. Like, we have one of our children who has a really good relationship with her great-grandmother. There's always someone there that I think the child can benefit. If you can make it happen, try to do it.
And also, we have heard, and it tends to work out if you kind of maintain a good relationship with the parent while the child is in foster care, and the parent wants to terminate rights, but, you know, it's embarrassing, and it's, you know, I'm sure heartbreaking to actually kind of cross that line as a parent. But if you establish that relationship with the parent, and you can kind of see that you're going to be able to work out some kind of open relationship, whether it's just pictures or maybe phone calls, whatever you decide, then they might be more agreeable to go ahead and sign termination to get the child, you know, moved on to adoption, which, if it's in the best interest of the child. I'm not saying falsely befriend a parent so that you can take their child. That's not what I'm saying. say it might help kind of move that road along if it's already headed in that direction. Because you're kind of proving like, hey, I'm going to take care of your child, and I want to have an open line of communication, and no, it might not be visits and a direct influence on his or her life, but you can have pictures and see how they're growing, and hopefully a relationship when they're older. I always tell my kids, especially the ones that are like, I really miss my mom, am I ever going to see her again? And I tell them, your childhood is just like this much of your life, and then you have the rest of your life to be a grown-up, and you can decide who to go back and have a relationship with, and they're going to ask you, why didn't I have a relationship with so-and-so? And you need to be able to openly and honestly tell them what happened, and hopefully you weren't a hindrance in that relationship, and they don't hold a grudge against you. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know.
We have a child who is no longer with us, but she straight up asked me, if I stayed with you guys and I got adopted, would you let me talk to my mom? And I was honest with her, and I said, if your mom was making good choices and, is being healthy and taking care of herself, absolutely, I would love to let you have a relationship with her. If that's not what she's doing and she's making poor choices, or she's in and out of jail because of those poor choices, then, for right now, no, I don't want you to have that. But that doesn't mean it's like that forever.
In conclusion, if I could say just one thing about relationships with biological families, is be open-minded and be kind. Golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Absolutely. The last thing I would say is you would want someone to have, some type of understanding or a little bit of compassion for you in the situation. And maybe if you got that little bit of understanding and compassion from a complete stranger who's taking care of your kids, that would make it so much easier for you to overcome whatever it is you're facing, or try to understand what the other side is like.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful to have a total stranger on your side. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send us messages or comment below, or, I don't know, make a video of your own and put it out there.
We had a little boy who could touch his tongue to his nose, and we both had a dream about him last night. So, kid, if you're out there watching, we still love you, boy.
We do. We love all of you, and we know all of your names still.
That it? The end.
Bye, guys.